What is up, guys? This is Tcg Sam here, and in today's video I'm coming at you guys with some test hands for the Dogmatika Invoked Shaddoll profile I recently made. So if you haven't checked that out already, be sure to check that out so you know what list I'm playing. So today's video we're going to be doing some test hands / combo tutorial showing you how you guys can play this deck. So if you like this type of content, be sure to let me know by leaving a like, commenting, subscribing. But with that being said, let's just hop straight into the first one. We're going to be assuming we're going first. So shuffling up, we'll draw our first 5 cards, which are Dragon, Aerial, Ash. It's not looking good so far. Hedgehog, and Imperm. So yeah, this is awful. But honestly, it could, I guess, like, it's pretty simple. You just set the Hedgehog, you have Ash and Imperm. If you don't die, then like, yeah, you draw an Endear Servant. So that's kind of okay. So I just, but in this case, you definitely probably want to set Hedgehog as opposed to something like Dragon, because you might say, oh, what if my opponent's going to OTK me? Shouldn't I just set Dragon instead? But actually, no, because like either way, even if you do set Dragon, like you're probably still going to lose that game if your opponent's able to play. So you may as well just set Hedgehog and hope that they're not able to play, so you can search like a Shadow Fusion spell to keep playing next turn. Like I said, if this lives and we do draw an Endear Servant, we're in business. So yeah, that's it for the first one. Not really good. It is kind of problematic for this deck sometimes, where it does lose to itself. You can see if you saw the deck profile, we're actually minimizing the Shaddoll count. So like we only play I believe 6, maybe 7 Shaddoll monsters at most. So that probably shouldn't have happened, or it shouldn't happen very often. So let's hope the next hand is a little better, where we shuffle up and we'll assume we're going first again. Let's see what we open this time. We have Schism, Shadow Fusion, Beast, Wendy, and Imperm. So it's looking a lot better. At least we're able to play, of course, assuming our Shadow Fusion doesn't get stopped in any way. Going first, Shadow Fusion. You could make the argument to go straight for Winda, and I think that's fine in this situation specifically because you already hard drew Schism. But if we didn't hard draw Schism, I definitely want to go Apclone to search Schism. But since we hard drew Schism in this case, we just summon Winda in the extra monster zone just in case we need to link it off our gravity controller later. We'll send these two to the graveyard. You want to probably chain block the Wendy, just because the Beast draw effect is whatever. It does, even if you don't draw anything super great, you still have Imperm and a Shaddoll Schism. So we're gonna do Chainlink 1 Wendy, Chainlink 2 Beast. So Beast is gonna draw us a card, draw Terraforming. That is actually really good. It does give us access to Alistair, and since we haven't normal summoned yet, we can normal summon Alistair, and then our 1 special summon can be used on the thing if we hadn't summoned off Wendy. I just remembered we did declare Wendy, because like you can't assume you're gonna draw something like this, so you kind of do just have to go with Wendy. So in this case, we'll use Wendy. We could summon either the Hedgehog to search possibly an Shadow Fusion, but like even then that's not super great. Honestly, I might just like set a Dragon. It's like a threat that your opponent has to deal with next turn. We're just gonna set a Dragon. And then, like I said, it's a little unfortunate that was our 1 special summon, so we can't really use the invoked stuff this turn. But you do want to activate Terraforming first just to get it out of your deck, so you're able to guarantee yourself not to draw like more of these cards later on. We'll activate Magical Meltdown, searching Alistair. You could hold the Alistair in hand, that's totally okay, to protect your Winda just in case. I think honestly I might do that, because otherwise we just be normal summoning and thinning our deck of like 1 invocation. But to be honest, like even if we top deck invocation, like that's actually not bad, because our Alistair should be in the grave by then, either protecting Winda, or next turn we can just normal Alistair and make 2 invoked plays. So we definitely want to hold the Alistair in our hand, set the Schism and the Imperm. Winda's already really hard for opponents to deal with, and on our opponent's turn we either have a second Winda by banishing these 2, or we can summon an Apclone to negate something, and Apclone floats when it dies. So that is just really strong. So yeah, that one was what you can do if you only open the Shaddoll monsters. But you can see that like when we have the opportunity to draw cards with cards like Shaddoll Beast, it's really powerful because we have so many power spells in our deck. So like if we drew like an Endear Servant there, that also would have been really good. But hopefully this time we're able to open like a little bit of everything, so I can show you kind of how strong this deck is. I'm not like cutting out hands that aren't that good, as you guys already saw. So I'm just showing every single possibility that happens when I'm shuffling. So let's shuffle up one more time for going first test hand. Hopefully you can open something a little better this time. A little bit of Dogmatika, a little bit of invoke stuff. Starting off with Flare, not the Dogmatika you want to open. Imperm, Nadir Servant, Shaddoll Fusion, and Maximus. This is actually a very interesting hand. This is pretty much only the Dogmatika stuff, so I guess I'll show you guys what you can do if you only open the Dogmatika stuff. This is not a bad hand by any means, though. Nadir Servant, as long as the Nadir Servant resolves, we get something to the graveyard, and that allows us to summon Maximus, and Maximus is a really, really strong card. So, starting off with Nadir Servant, pretty much the only target you can send here is like App Clone. You don't want to send Titaniclad because you already have such access to your entire engine. We'll send App Clone, search a copy of Yugioh, App Clone effect. We are going to add a copy of our Schism and then ditch Schism. The reason we are doing that is because we are going to send a copy of El Shaddoll Construct to the graveyard, so Construct can add this back, and then Construct acts as our Shaddoll name in the graveyard. So adding Schism, discarding Schism. From here, you probably want to try to bait out something your opponent has, maybe like bait out their Veiler with their Yugioh or something, because you really want this Maximus to resolve to be able to add the Schism back. So start with the Yugioh. If it doesn't get hit with anything, we're just gonna search our last Dogmatika target, Dogmatika Punishment, and then next summon Maximus by banishing App Clone. Activate Maximus effect. Maximus is going to send any 2 Shaddoll monsters to the graveyard. You could also, I guess you could send Winda to add back Schism, but we probably want the extra Winda in our extra deck. So we're going to send the Construct and just send a copy of Titaniclad. Even though we already have access to our full engine, this at least gives us a little bit of advantage by searching the Yugioh. So yeah, sending these 2, affect a Construct is going to add our Schism back. Titaniclad, I should also mention, is important because it's a dark. It lets you have access to your El Shaddoll window. So yeah, adding Schism back, now we can set 3 cards. And this is actually really powerful because even though we only open like the Dogmatika side of our deck, you can kind of see like one Nadir Servant just kind of led to like almost all of this. This is how powerful card Nadir is. Because on our opponent's turn, we have access to Fleur. So Fleur is 1 negation, Imperm is another negation, Punishment is another interruption. You can send Entis for a pop, so that's 2 pops. Shaddoll Schism, you have the flexibility of either summoning a Winda, or if you need to send an Aerial or something, you can banish Construct. And little known fact, you can banish monsters from your field as well for Schism. So you can banish one of your lights from the field to summon out Construct and send Aerial or Dragon. So you have a lot of flexibility by sending Construct earlier on. So yeah, that's it for this test hand. Pretty strong. Like you can see, like just the Dogmatika side of the deck, you're able to kind of end with this. That's why the Dogmatika is probably, I would say, the most powerful engine in the deck, because it like kind of bridges the Shaddolls together with the entire deck, because you can send App Clone, and App Clone just has access to all the Shaddoll cards in your deck that you can need. So that's it for that test hand. We're going to do one more test hand for going second. We're going to assume we're going second. I always say these before I do these types of test hands. This is just purely hypothetical. We don't know what our opponent's going to have, so we're just going to kind of assume we're playing into a sort of semi-decent board, but like I said, it's just purely hypothetical. But I just wanted to show some of the going second plays that this deck can make. So shuffling up, we are going to draw our 5, see if we draw any hand traps. We open Crossout, Nadir, Meltdown, Skomata, and Hedgehog. So this is a really, really strong going first hand, but we unfortunately don't have any hand traps going second. Draw for turn, draw Imperm. That is really, really good. That's pretty much the only like hand trap that we wanted to draw going second. And I think at this point you do have to play your Imperm first, because otherwise your Meltdown is going to be on the board and you can't use it from your hand. So Imperm will trade with one of their negations. Activate Meltdown. Meltdown, if Meltdown gets negated, we still have access to plays with Nadir Servant, but assuming it doesn't, we'll go into our Alistair the Invoker. Normal summon Alistair. If our opponent has like a hand trap, whatever, we just go Crossout Designator. Let's assume they attempt to, I don't know, like Effect Veiler us. So we'll Crossout Designator, call Effect Veiler, resolve Alistair, search Invocation. And then from here, you can turn the Alistair into a copy of the Almirage into a copy of Gardena. And then, yes, you can use Invocation from your hand to fuse these 2, but unfortunately, these 2 are darks, so Window wouldn't really help us out here, so we don't really want to do that. Instead, we're going to use Invocation, of course, banishing the Gardena, banishing Alistair. This is, of course, assuming our opponent has like no light monsters in their graveyard. We'll banish these 2, summon out our copy of Mechaba, And then don't forget to use invocation effects to shuffle it back. Add Alistair. This could be important if we're going for game. Add back Alistair, and then from here we get to resolve probably like the best card in our deck, because now it's protected against if our opponent for some reason has like a Bell or an Ash, like, well, Mechabuzz is just able to stop that. So activate Nadir Servant. We're going to send Apclone. We want to send Apclone because our hand is full of Shaddolls. We want to make sure we are able to discard these Shaddolls for full value. So sending Apclone, adding Ecclesia, Apclone effects. We can't summon from the extra deck anymore, so we can't make a huge push with El Shaddol Fusion. But what we can do is just set up for the next turn, and we're going to do that with Schism. You can go with El Shaddol Fusion if you really want to, but I think Schism is good because at this point you're essentially guaranteed yourself to get at least like 2 uses out of Schism, assuming your opponent can't resolve it, because our graveyard is just going to be so full of Shaddolls. So that's why I'm going for Schism. Schism, I guess at this point, if we're breaking our opponent's board, we'll just assume we're going Squamata. Squamata effect, sending Shaddol Dragon will like pop one of their back row. And then from here, activate Ecclesia. Since we have an extra deck monster, we can special summon her. Ecclesia effect. And now it really depends on how many monsters your opponent has. If they have like no monsters, you can go grab Fleur. Fleur summon itself out. This is 2k because Fleur gives you 500. 2k plus the 3k on Fleur, so that's 5k. Plus 25 damage step Alistair, that's 8,500 damage. That's of course assuming your opponent has no monsters on the board, but that's pretty unlikely. So we're just gonna assume that our opponent does have something on the board. And instead, we are going to go for a card like Maximus. Maximus going second also has applications because once you're able to summon it out, of course you can send Elder Entity Entis to clear the way. So that's what we're going to do. Maximus effect, we're going to send Titaniclad. This gets us a Fleur in the end phase. And Entis pop their board. And even though this isn't game, this is 3k plus 25. That's 5,500 damage. You don't want to use the Alistair at this point. 5,500 damage, main phase 2, we set a Shaddol Schism. And then during the end phase, we are going to trigger the effect of Titaniclad. Titaniclad is going to allow us to add a copy of Fleur to our hand. Very important because that gives us a way to game them next turn, and it gives us interruption. So essentially we have access to either a Construct or a Winda Construct or Winda during our opponent's turn. We can summon out Winda with Schism, send a Dark monster if they're playing Darks. But even if they're not, we can just banish like these 2 guys, summon it out. Fleur effect is gonna negate something else. That's 1 negation, one floodgate, and then Mechabuzz is able to just negate any monster effect because you have an extra Shaddol Hedgehog in your hand. And of course you have Alistair, the Invoker, for next turn, which is just 100% game because we can make Agoides with all the fusion monsters in our grave. So yeah, going second still, even though we didn't open any hand traps aside from that Imperm, we're still able to make a lot of powerful plays. Even though we don't kill our opponent, we essentially just control the game from here, and they just shouldn't be able to win after this point. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments below. I can post a dual video with this deck as well if you like that. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and with that, I will see you guys soon. Take care.